Welcome to the Year Is podcast, the podcast where every episode, me, Bobby Mair, and fellow comedian Red Richardson travel back to a year in history and talk about the weirdest, the most fucked up, the most interesting things from that year. But first, we have to talk about the last week in our lives because they have been seminal for both of us.
Yes, not great. You've had corona.
And you were robbed.
I was robbed by a gang of children.
We'll start with me, because I think yours is even more pathetic than what's been going on with me.
We'll see.
I had to cancel all of my work this week because I had asymptomatic COVID. And as you know, we have a 3-month-old baby, and it was incredible. So I got COVID, and then Harriet said, "Oh no, what should we do?" Because she didn't have COVID. And I said, "I don't know." And she said, "You stay down here. I'll go upstairs with the baby."
So you got the TV and the couch.
And the dog for a week.
Not
and
sure
I
about
just
the
had
dog.
to listen to her taking care of our child for a week. Did I miss the child? Yes. Did I miss Harriet? Yes. But did I have a spa vacation on a couch? Yes, I did. It was great. Harriet would text me and be like, "I haven't slept." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, me neither. Don't call me for 2 hours. We'll be napping." Just had to lie about. She's like, "Is it really hard? Are you really sad?" I'd be like, "Oh yeah, I'm really struggling with this. It's horrible. I just have a dog asleep on my chest while I watch television."
But your dog's worse than your baby.
That's not true.
I mean, your baby's great and your dog's fine. But that sounded bad. Sounded like your baby's... yeah, I didn't mean it like that. But you get what I mean. Like the dog's more high maintenance than your kid.
No, the dog's fine.
Yeah,
it relaxes after a while. It doesn't like you. The dog sees you and just...
Well, it seems to not be able to leave me alone.
Yeah, because you smell like raw meat. My dog thinks you smell like raw meat, so it kind of
wants to eat me.
It stays around you because it correctly senses this guy knows where the food is.
Oh my God. Well,
This guy can take me to the chicken. That's what the dog so yeah, I feel like, didn't you say once that when you were in India, a pack of dogs just started following you?
Remember, they all sat down by my feet.
Yeah, because they thought...
That's because they thought he's the pack leader.
No, they thought this man clearly knows where all the meat is.
That's not what they thought. They thought this guy is strong, reliable, and in charge. Yeah, so there you go. What do you think a single parent does with if they've got coronavirus? Say a single dad.
They just take care of the baby. Well, no one does anything now. The time of people caring about COVID is ending. But
if Harriet had gone away on a well-earned 2-week just retreat on her own, left you with the baby, and you had coronavirus, how would you'd have to fishing rod, milk?
No, I think you just take care of the kid and accept the kid's going to get COVID. And hope for the best. Odds are it'll be fine unless the kid has some kind of weakened immune system.
So you wouldn't have to put it 2 meters away and just try and get food in its mouth, throw it.
I read it drinks milk. You'd have to shoot it with a fucking...
You have to super soak it up in the air.
Yeah.
It lands in the mouth from 2 meters away. That's the only way. Well, I was robbed. I was walking along. There's a homeless guy there. He asked me for some money, and I was on my e-scooter, which listeners of the podcast will know I've been into recently. Never again. It's a poison chalice. They look like fun, but they'll lead you down the wrong path, as I found out last week. And this homeless guy said, "Can I have some money?" I said, "You know what? I'll give you a tenner in cash if you take a few action shots and videos of me on the e-scooter."
Here's what's insane about that. You started, I don't trust homeless people, but if someone has no money, you started by giving this stranger your phone and then getting on a scooter and scooting away from your own phone and just hoping he'd be there when you got back. If I was him, I would steal your phone to teach you a lesson. It's nothing about homelessness. I would just take your phone and be like, "Okay, well now you don't get a phone because you're fucking stupid."
Well, I could zoom after him on the scooter, and no disrespect for the guy. I don't think he was hardly an athlete, let's say. So I go after him on the scooter and just club him down like I was in a medieval war. I'm on horseback. But anyway.
What I like about that is you're in your deluded plan. People watching would just see a guy on a scooter chasing a homeless guy and clubbing him.
Yeah, it would be horrible. And I just say, look, I just wanted a few action shots. And that sounds even worse because they go, oh, you're actually a psychopath completely. So I gave him my phone. He then took a load of shots of me. His thumb is in all of them. He's not a good photographer. So I'm just going to say to anyone out there, if you're in Camberwell and you need some action shots, do not trust the man who sits by the HSBC because he's not good at his job. So he did that, and then he gave me my phone back, and I looked at them. They're awful. I was like, can we just do one more? These aren't good. And so we did one more loop, and he's just taking the piss at me the whole time. He's like, here he is. Look how fast he's going. Oh, it's Prince Charming.
Yep, Red, because you look insane. Who gets a stranger to film him on an e-scooter like it's really cool? It's not a hovercraft.
What I wanted is to put it on Instagram with that song, Low Rider, da 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 da, and maybe it's slow motion zoom shots past. That would be very cool. Anyway, these kids come up, about 16, this young girl, and she says, oh, me and my boyfriend want to use one of these. How do you use it? And I say, well, you need the app. And they're like, is it okay if we just go around the park once on yours?
Wait. How old were these people?
16, 15 maybe.
And would you trust 15-year-old you?
Not a chance. But I don't know what. I was in a giving mood. And they said, I think we can all see where this is going. They said, can we have one zoom around the park? So I said, okay. Just once, because I'm paying by the minute. Because I don't know if you've used an e-scooter. It's like an Uber, but you're just paying for every minute you have it. And so they said, yeah, sure. Got on it. She zooms off. The boyfriend just runs after her. And a few of them like appear and scuttle off as well. So I start running after them. And so I'm legging it after them.
Did they do a lap around the park first?
Yeah, they did a lap round, then zoomed around me. And then I managed to kind of catch up with them. And they zoomed around me on this patch in Camberwell Green, just zooming around me. And
like you were being bullied.
One of them called
You were being bullied by teens.
They called me a fat dickhead and zoomed off.
I think that both of those things, there's truth in that statement.
I ran after them. And I was shouting, stop them. And I saw these two guys and they said, what's going on? What's happened? Did they just knock you off your scooter? And I said, no, I let them have a ride. You know, and they just looked at me and laughed and said, you're an idiot. So I was on the phone to Lime Scooter, I think it is. And their offices are in California. So I'm speaking to an American woman who's probably like 4 a.m. for them on a 24-hour helpline. And I was on hold for ages, and then she's like, so what happened? I had to tell her that they mugged me because I couldn't say. And I'm like, where are they? And she's like, they've traveled 4.5 kilometers. Then you get your bill back, which luckily she cut at tenner. But you got it took me an hour to get the thing cancelled, and then you get your bill back, and they can show you where they've been on the scooter. And there's a little ring at the beginning of the journey from when they were circling me and calling me a fat dickhead.
What's great about it is I told you to call the police.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't think, but I thought, I didn't realize they could cancel like that. And I thought, well, Red, if these kids destroy the scooter, you're going to be liable for the scooter.
Yeah.
But then when I told you to call the police, I did say you also gave a scooter to people are at an age that they're probably legally not allowed to drive one. So you might have committed a crime.
I didn't think of any of that.
Yeah.
I just thought, look at these young kids. I have a little zoom around them. And it was the oldest I've ever felt running after some going, come back here, you little hair. I felt like Homer Simpson's dad.
How much did they charge you?
It was only $10.50 in the end, which was good because I told them I'd been robbed. And I was like, you guys really need to look into this because it's rough out there. So that's all, but it was sorted. And I wasn't going to call the police because don't want to get the kids in trouble, you know. They just need to learn. So there we go. That's been my week.
It's just so funny that the day that you're really trusting.
Oh, never again. I'm giving no one a thing ever again. Ever. That's it. That was my final act.
This is the day Red becomes a Tory.
That was my final good deed. I hate to say it. Had there been an election that day, I would have voted for whatever stripped the rights from children and left the worst planet possible.
There's no party, man. There's no political party.
There's not one bad enough, trust me.
There's no party running the platform of, we want to strip the rights of children.
Defund schools, anyone under 16 isn't allowed healthcare anymore. It would have been all that sort of stuff.
You pay your own way. The day you turn 18, your parents give you a bill for everything you've ever spent, and you spend the rest of your life in servitude to your parents.
Yeah, this would be like Hitler not getting into art school. Well, Richardson famously lent an e-scooter to some children. It really radicalized him.
He went down a dark path.
Yes, so that was a financial hit, which isn't good in these times.
If this kid was 16, I think legally, could you box him?
Well, box him on the nose.
No, I mean, could you box him like in a boxing match? Is that a thing?
Oh, yeah, but they're nifty, these kids now. They're all trained.
But legally, I'm just saying, could you...
Oh, yeah, I could probably smack him in the
settle it in the ring.
Yeah, well, if you can legally have sex with a 16-year-old, surely you can punch one in the nose. Yeah, I'm sure. But, you can't, they'll be like jumping out bushes through my legs.
Well, boxing. I'm talking about a boxing ring.
Yeah, but, I don't know. You wouldn't get one of them in there. They're too sneaky. I'd end up tied to my own lime scooter being driven around somehow. To the front. On the front like a pirate ship, I'm strapped to the front while they drive me through the streets of Peckham and their friends throw eggs at me.
When it happened, did you have any flashbacks to like a moment in your life when you were a kid taunting an adult? And
yeah, loads. I fully deserve that.
Like what?
We used to throw conkers onto people who could... There was a phone box in the train station by our skate park, and people would go use the phone box, and we'd pelt them with conkers while they're in it. So crack against the, and they couldn't get out. So yeah, I get what it's like to be young, wild, and feral, but there's a point in everyone's life when you just want to put some slippers on and vote Tory, and I think I've reached it. No, I'm yeah. Ooh. But I was on Instagram earlier today.
Okay.
I was on Stories.
Yeah.
Saw your wife Harriet Kemsley on Stories talking about how men and women shouldn't have joint bank accounts.
Well, I mean, I think that's insane because she spends more than I do.
Yes. But, so for me, Rosie earns more than I do. And I think we're a team, And so say if she earns 40 grand a year.
You think 20 of that is yours?
She could get a pay rise by joining Council of Me and earn 50 grand a year. Do you know what I mean?
I had money and then I literally bought all of this equipment for the podcast and spent all of my money.
Okay, well, I think this is a good time to say we're starting a Patreon.
Yes. Now, for those of you that don't know what Patreon is, it's a subscription service where you subscribe monthly at the price of a cup of coffee, £3, £5. There's different tiers.
Yeah.
And here's what we're going to give you, okay? So you might notice this episode's been released on Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
That's because now, if you want to get the episode on Monday, you have to subscribe to the Patreon. But the most exciting part of the Patreon is that we are doing an extra episode every week.
Yeah.
I think that's what's really...
Yeah. And it's an involving you episode because as top historians, world-renowned top historians, me and Bobby regularly talk about famous dictators, famous inventors. We now think you don't have to have invented something or killed loads of people to be remembered. So we want you, the normal people, to be remembered. So if you write in stories about amazing things you've achieved, whether it's drinking 20 pints and driving a jet ski, anything like that, or invented something stupid that no one recognizes, write into us. It could be any great moment from your life, and we will discuss it on the podcast, on the Patreon exclusive, and we will put you on our Wikipedia page on our Hall of Fame for the year is.
So you will go down in history on Wikipedia.
Yeah.
Whatever you send us. We can use a pseudonym if it's something gross, if you cheat on your wife once a month and you want to tell us about it.
It could be anonymous.
It could be completely anonymous, and we could use a pseudonym, whatever. And email us at theyearispodcast
Yeah.
at gmail.com. Okay, and I'll walk you through the Patreon tiers because I think they're pretty fun. So the £3 tier, you get the episode 48 hours early, and you are a Wikipedia wizard. The £5 tier, you become a world-renowned historian. That's better, isn't it?
Yeah, that's really good.
And you will not only get the free episode 48 hours early, you will also get a weekly episode where we, talk about our listeners' biggest events, and they go down in the annals of history. Is it annals?
Annals. Yeah.
And the annals of history. Make sure you sign up now, because starting the week of the 18th, there will be a new episode every week on Patreon. Then the £10 tier, you are a genius.
Yep. Certified by us. That can be used in job interviews, and it's legit.
You will get all of that and a signed poster and cameo kind of style video where me and Red thank you personally and beg you to love us.
We also shout you out on the podcast every week as a producer because it all really helps. We put a lot into making this, so any donations are great. Because our greedy producer Jody is hell bent on going to Russia to fight, and so he's squeezing us for money every day. So please help us.
That's not true. Jody's a great producer, but I would also
He's
say
been consumed by greed.
Here's what we're gonna do. So just for the early people who sign up for Patreon, we want to really thank you. So if you sign up before June 1st, you will get free tickets to a live Year Is online show. So it doesn't matter where you are, we're going to do our first live show online where over, I think Zoom probably, or some platform, you can watch and talk to us and interact with us, and we'll have, it'll be great.
Mm-hmm.
So sign up now and you won't regret it.
So the website address is patreon.com/theyearispod. That's where you can sign up and support us for all our hard work and thousands of pounds spent on doing this for you.
Okay.
Okay.
Should we do the episode?
Let's do the episode. Let's do it.
Okay, this episode, we are going back to 1848, the year that Red looks like he was born. No witty comeback?
No, let's just try.
You look like you're 174 years
Do
old.
I?
Yeah.
You look like a fox with a disease.
There we go.
No, because I'm here to do a serious history podcast and try and teach people stuff, whereas you're here to throw names around like it's some sort of horrific rap battle. And that's not why I'm here. That's why I rise above your bullshit and try and give the people what I came here to do. Educate them.
I don't think that made sense, but we're going to keep
going. It completely
going.
makes sense if you have half a brain. Carry on.
In 1848, the Fox sisters started Spiritualism. Now, if you don't know what that means, the two younger sisters used rappings to convince their older sister that they were communicating with spirits. Their older sister then took charge of them and managed their careers for sometimes as very successful mediums. So I don't know about you, but I thought psychics had been around for, I assume thousands of years. Like the idea that people could talk to spirits as a job had been around for thousands of years. I didn't realize that it was only monetized in 1848.
Well, religion includes, a lot of sort of trust, doesn't it?
Yeah.
There's quite a lot of Jesus talking to God in the desert and stuff. But yeah, so these two, they were the first sort of spiritual, they were like, he's in the room. He's telling you to give me a tenner, that sort of thing. Yeah. They brought that into it. Yeah, this is quite funny because I come from a place, I grew up went to secondary school in a place called Totnes in Devon, where there's a lot of this, and there's a lot of very spiritual men who make quite a lot of money off very spiritual rich women. So it's about a lot of sort of close your eyes, hum, and carve your last 3 numbers of your bank card into this rune stone, and I'll put it in a potion, and now I have all your money, but you're healed. There's a lot of that. So they basically started this.
I did meet one time. I met a lady I think was a psychic.
Why? What did she say?
I was in this car.
She said, you're going to ruin a podcast one day. Go on. You're in a car.
I was in a car in Canada.
Yeah.
And it was like a ride share. So you get in a car and you're just with strangers and someone's driving you and you pay the driver like $20 to go up. And there's this lady in the car. I get to talk to her. It turns out she went to high school with my sister.
Okay. Wait, so she predicted your name or something like that?
No.
You're called Bobby.
But she was living in like Malaysia and had became like a psychic.
Yeah.
And I could tell by the way she talked about my sister that my sister had definitely bullied her.
Okay.
And that she was definitely a bit weird. But
why? What did she say about your sister that made you think she bullied her?
You know when someone's like, I'm like, oh, you went to high school with my sister. They go, yeah, I knew her. You know what I mean? Just that tone where they're like, yeah, she exists.
Nice girl. Just don't go to the loo with her because she'll flush your head down.
But then
long nails, I remember.
But the reason I knew she was a psychic was at the time I had just been on a show called Russell Howard's Good News.
Ooh, yeah.
And I think we had this. I just had said that to her, and then she was like, I think you should do a program called The Good News. Like I should do my own.
Ooh. Maybe did she have YouTube? Maybe she knew. Maybe she went on YouTube, saw you on the show.
No.
Okay, but you'd already done the show.
I'd done the show.
So it wasn't really psychic. It was an afterthought. Like, that's not psychic. That's the opposite of it because it's realized something after it's happened.
Well, she was temporarily displaced.
That's like me saying, I think you should move to England. Ooh. Now.
I already live in England.
Yes, that's the point. You'd already done Good News. So she's the opposite of a psychic.
No, she had the vibe of a psychic.
I think you met someone who just knows stuff that's happened, which is just a basic human being. Did she say she was a psychic?
She implied she had spiritual skills. But now, maybe thinking about it, maybe she wasn't a psychic.
I think what this implying is actually you don't know what a psychic is.
No, she had a vibe. There was a vibe of like...
Yeah.
Something about her, you know?
Yeah, spooky.
A spooky
Maybe she
vibe.
just did ketamine.
That's possible.
That could be it as well. So these two sisters, the Fox sisters, I've read about them before. Didn't they both didn't they trick their family into thinking there was a dead person in the house? And they used to do this knocking noise, didn't they? Where
yeah.
Knock, knock, knock. And they go, oh, someone's here. Oh, and they get the neighbors round and everyone started coming around and listening to it. And it was them. And they tie an apple to a string, I believe, and pull on it secretly so it would knock against the other side of the wall. And everyone would come round and go, if you're here, do something. And it would go, knock, knock. And they go 3 times if it's the devil. And they go, knock, knock, knock. And everyone was like, oh, my God. And everyone started to believe that there was a dead body in their house that had been murdered because of these girls. And it became a phenomenon. And they're about 13 or something. I used to just prank call the local pub. But this is something else.
What's really good is that in 1888, Margareta confessed that their rappings had been a hoax and publicly demonstrated their method. Then, obviously, they lost all their work. People hated them. So she attempted to recant her confession the next year.
And she said, I'm not actually...
No, she said at first, I'm not a psychic. It was all a lie. And then a year later, she was like, I am a psychic, actually.
Yeah.
But their reputation was ruined. And less than 5 years later, they were all dead. And Margareta and Kate died in abject poverty.
Yeah, they became alcoholics because obviously the lies. But they went so long. It's like something you start as a kid. And then didn't their sister became their manager and would tour them around? They do seances to like 2,000 people. So they go, I'm feeling something. And I heard when they exposed what they were doing, they got paid $1,500, which in 1848, God knows what that is. A taste of,
It's a good chunk.
The drinks are on them. Let's just say that. But they did it live. This paper paid for them to do it live for $1,500 each. And they basically just went, hey, guys, and all these fans who'd flocked to see them were like, we don't believe it. You can't, you are real. Because, some people have to believe. They went, look, that noise you made? Here you go. Knock, knock with their knees, and then did the apple. And everyone went, oh. Apparently other spiritual gurus were trying to kill them off because they didn't want, it's like the magic circle, like, do not reveal that we're all full of shit.
Yes.
It's still going on to this day. There's always some weird guy who's like a herbal and what, you know what I mean? Like we saw that guy on Instagram the other day.
It gives people a comfort.
Yeah. And fair enough, but just don't take people's money.
I mean, I knew actually, but sometimes they're horrible.
Yeah.
I knew this site. I like a relative died and then they got a psychic involved. I don't want to say too much because I don't want to reveal who it is. But then they played a tape of the psychic to me and it was fucking horrific. The psychic was just like, I can feel his spirit. He's saying, I don't want to be dead.
Oh no, why would you do?
And it's just like, you're a fucking cunt.
Just take the 60 quid and say, he's saying he loves you and he's having a great time.
Yeah.
He's at a foot spa forever. That's all you need to say,
It was...
He's in the Bahamas, but in heaven.
It was... I was
Why would you say that?
I was like 12 at the time. And even at 12, I was like, this person is fucking disgusting.
It's not enough that you're conning people, because I'm assuming they paid him.
Of course they paid him.
God.
Him or her, I don't... But I can't remember. But I just remember like being so angry because I'm like, this is horrible.
Yeah.
Like, what a horrible thing to do to somebody.
Yeah.
But like, if they give comfort, fine. Someone's a bit dumb and they just want someone to say, listen, your cat is actually very happy they got hit by that car because it's been reunited with all its cat friends in heaven who are also hit by cars, and it's mom who you got put down and it's dad who you got put down. Actually, it's very happy to be away from the people who killed its parents. It's saying actually it hated you.
Yeah, exactly. There was a guy in the tabloid newspapers back here, I think it was the Sun, but he's probably still going. He was called Justin Toper, and he was a stargazer. And they had a little picture of him, which they shouldn't have had, because he had this he looked like Jimmy Savile kind of. He had like long blonde hair and this fake tan. And you're like, this guy just fucking phones it in every weekend, And it was like, what a job. He probably gets like a couple of $100 on Sunday. He goes, oh shit, I got to fucking bash out the horoscopes again. Just does, 12, you're going to do this, and watch out for the green man. And someone goes, oh, the green man. And then they like run out of peas and go, oh, that must have been it. Because the mental gymnastics people will do to believe this bullshit. It might not, but just, yeah. I think the minute you're making money, there's something's going on, isn't there? And I like to believe there's other things because it's a nicer thought. But I do not for a second believe these crusty old crock-wearing men who are extracting money out of desperate single women as we speak across this country. A lot of I went to India. A lot of these guys there. A lot of very spiritual men who have very spiritual connections with young women. Do you know what I mean? Not good. They're usually manipulators. So watch out if you're getting your palms read. And he asks for your bank details because he needs them to tell your dead grandma that you're doing well. Don't give them to him.
Have you ever been to a psychic?
No. Oh, actually, as a kid, me and my mates got our palms read.
What do you remember what they said about you?
Yeah, they said, we don't know what you're going to do, but you're going to be very respected for it. And you know what? You know why she didn't know what he was going to do? Because podcast didn't exist back then. And there we are. Respect and the things she didn't see.
She could have not been talking about this, though. She could have been talking about just like...
Well, she wasn't talking about the fucking kids who robbed me, was she?
No.
She must have been talking about this.
No, all she said was, you're going to be respected for what you do.
Yeah.
That could mean anything. You could kill a murderer.
Yeah, that's an option.
Next year, you could kill a murderer and be in prison for the rest of your life and have a horrible time.
But I'll be respected.
But you'll be respected. That could have been what she was saying, actually.
Yeah.
You could be falsely accused of murder
Yeah.
have done nothing, go to prison for 30 years, but after 30 years, get out of prison, having your life destroyed. Rosie's moved on. She's married another man. Your kids won't speak to you because they think you killed. Your parents are dead. But
Yeah.
you won't have confessed to the murder because you didn't do it.
And then I'll get cleared by a young journalist who'll become a millionaire, and it'll be a big podcast.
And then
I thought it was going to be this podcast, but it's actually that one.
And then you will be respected for your refusal to confess to a crime you didn't commit.
And then I'll get cleared, and then on a year after I got cleared, to the day, I'll get hit by a bus.
No, they'll figure out you did actually kill someone else.
Oh, for God's
And then you'll go back to prison.
I prefer that what she meant was that she didn't know what podcast yet, but it was this podcast, and I'm deeply respected by all the listeners, apart from the guy who sent a picture of me as a chewing gum with a pube on it. Thank you very much. Anything else to say about these two sisters? Both died. But basically just two mean girls, and it went too far, you know?
They're just hustlers. Hustlers have existed.
I don't think they started as a hustle. I think it was a joke, and then they went, oh my God, everyone's absolutely fucking stupid.
And it went on for 40 years, though.
Do you think they sometimes had drinks together when they're backstage in the green room going, you know, how long are we going to do this for?
It's just like being a magician.
Yeah, but that's kind of, you know, everyone knows it's a trick, you know?
Excuse me?
Oh my God.
Magic isn't real?
Yes, of course it's not real. We are over the moon to bring you this episode sponsored by Manscaped, who are our new sponsors. And they're brilliant. They sent me and Bobby a performance package in the post, and it is fantastic, isn't it, Bobby?
Okay, they gave us like these like waterproof trimmers that are amazing.
Yeah.
And like I hadn't shaved my pubes in years.
Yeah.
And I mean years, because right when I started dating Harriet, I did it with a razor and it was like a bloodbath.
Okay.
So I just gave up. But now I was like, oh, I'm just going to let it grow.
Yeah.
But this package they sent us, it's incredible.
No, yeah, Bobby no longer looks like an orangutan because of Manscaped. And you shaved your beard today using the beard trimmer.
Well, I think that might have been the ball trimmer also. I don't
But it's either way, it doesn't matter.
It's great.
They've also got a nose trimmer, which for me was becoming, because I have to keep the tash, which is my key feature. I think we can all agree. Without the tash, I'm nothing.
I did think a while ago it was less mustache and more nose hair growing onto your lip.
That's the problem. So what you got to do is try and shave around it. Not with Manscaped. I now have a nose trimmer where I can shave my nose without damaging the tash whatsoever, keeping the money maker.
They said it's like this like ball wax.
Ball wax to make your nuts smell better. You know, a great gift, the ball. It's a ball moisturizer, so it makes your balls not smell. If they get sweaty and disgusting, you're sitting in the office laughing too much at our pod, causing your nuts to sweat. Or if your whole family has a problem with your dad's nuts and they stink every time it's breakfast, all you can smell is his stinky balls, you could say, hey, Dad, here's some Manscaped nut cream to make you stop stinking and ruining the bloody scrambled eggs in the morning. So it's great. And what we want to tell you now is that you get 20% off if you use the discount code YEARIS on all Manscaped products on their website, manscaped.com. So please go there, check out all the stuff they got. They got boxers, which are the most comfortable things I've ever worn in my life. I went to Liverpool on an 8.5-hour coach journey the other day, and it was an experience only made bearable by my Manscaped boxers, because usually I'm being choked from below by cheap pants that don't care about me.
Okay. Well, you heard it here first. Now, let's get back to the episode.
1848, the gold rush, Bobby.
Yes.
Gold was discovered in a river in America by a man called James W. Marshall. He discovered it. He was working at a sawmill called Sutter's Mill, owned by a man called Mr. Sutter. Anyway, his discovery led to...
Wait, you're telling me that Sutter's Mill...
was owned by Mr. Sutter.
What?
Yeah. That's why he called it after his surname. It wasn't a coincidence.
Okay.
Yeah, just in case you were wondering. Would be some coincidence if it was. Anyway, he discovers the gold. And In the space of 7 years, 300,000 people migrate to California in search of gold. Hence the name, the Gold Rush. But at the time, California was still part of Mexico. So it's the Mexican-American War. And so there was no actual laws in place as to who owned what. So it became a fucking free-for-all. So you know how now when you listen to people talk about Bitcoin and it's the most boring thing ever, even though we probably should have it and we're going to regret it in 10 years.
Yeah.
But it's boring.
Yeah.
Back then, the gold rush was prospectors going out with shovels and guns and just fighting each other to try and find rocks of gold. Which, if you're in a pub and someone said, instead of Bitcoin, like, Dogecoin, duh, and they go, I'm actually a prospector. Today I had to beat a man to death with a shovel because he was trying to come onto my land. That would be a lot more fun. But so the man, James W. Marshall, he found gold in the river and he went and told Sutter, his boss, and was like, look, I think this is gold. And they're like, we can't fucking tell anyone. Do not tell a soul, because if we do, everyone's coming here and we don't quite own the land, right? So they try and keep it secret, but they need to test if it's gold or not. So they bring in this local lady who has to boil the gold with lye to see, because gold doesn't get destroyed. And you can, I think copper gets defaced. I think, what's the other one? But gold's malleable as well.
Okay.
But it doesn't destroy. And so they boil it in lye. They're like, this is gold. We've got gold, but we can't fucking tell a soul. But the problem is if you got gold, you can't eat gold. So they needed a way of making money. But she went and told a man who owned a shop. He was called, wait 2 seconds. He was called Samuel Brannan.
Browning?
Brannan.
Was his shop called Brannan's Shop?
It could be, Bobby. But he was an interesting man. So he was a Mormon who was actually friends with Joseph Smith's brother. And when Joseph Smith died, he tried to get Joseph Smith's brothers put in charge of the Mormons, and their coup got foiled by some other Mormons, and they were kicked out of the Mormonship, and he took a load of Mormons to California with him to try and start his new thing.
Okay.
Instead, he started a shovel shop, right? And so the lady comes to him and says, there's fucking gold over there. Or no, she got paid in gold to do it's something stupid. So someone comes in with a little bit of gold and pays him, and he goes, where'd you get this? And they go, at Sutter's Mill. And he's like, right. So he's very smart, this man. So he goes to San Francisco and starts shouting, there's gold in the river, buy your shovels. So he starts selling shovels to people and sending them to Sutter's Mill. Sutter's there like, get away from my gold. And suddenly thousands of people would just come to his mill, which, let's face it, he almost certainly pillaged off Mexican and Native American Indians, you know? So fucking...
But they all need shovels.
They all need shovels.
This guy
he's
is a genius.
He's not involved. He doesn't have to fight for the gold. He just goes, I'm not involved. I just sell you the shovel. He's the arms dealer, basically. So they send everyone there. He makes millions and millions of pounds. He becomes the richest, he's the first millionaire out of the gold rush.
From shovels.
Probably
the only millionaire from the gold rush was the guy selling the shovels.
And because they were trying to keep it secret. And this dickhead is just, gold in the river. Sending literally in the end 300,000 people went because of this tosser. And this guy's trying to hoard his gold and get out of my river. And so they flooded. He obviously very clever man, Samuel Brannan. He put all his money into property. Anyway, Sutter basically gets told, look, he's like, get off my land. He hires people to try and fight for him for a bit. His mill starts failing because all the people he hires for his mill want to find gold instead. So they go looking for gold. Then he hires men, but by that time it's too late and there's too many people there. And he basically gets told, look, get the fuck out. You're going to die. He dies penniless. The man who found the gold basically tries to start a coup where he goes, this is all mine, and controls everyone. And that failed. He nearly got lynched. And then he decided he was going to move into wine and start his own vineyard, and that failed as well. But he then went, I've got an idea, which is very similar to the two spiritual ladies we were just talking about. He said, I'm going to pretend to be a man who knows where gold is. So he started being like a gold soothsayer, if that's even the right word. But he would go.
Wait, what word did you just say?
Soothsayer. That's a spiritual person, isn't it? What does a soothsayer
I've never heard that as a word before.
Jody, can you have a quick Google? A soothsayer. Have you not heard that?
No one's heard
It's
that.
like a psychic person. They will have. Well, this is why they listen to this, to learn stuff, because I don't just trade insults, I teach.
Yeah, a soothsayer.
Yeah.
Yeah, a person's supposed to be able to foresee the future. I've heard that word
Thank
before.
you.
Yeah.
Seems
so
like
much.
somebody put something on Google before the podcast started. Interesting.
I could be psychic, Bobby.
We can all put words into an internet dictionary and then come to my house and record a podcast, Red. It turns out, somebody's got a huge vocabulary. Or are they inventing words?
Well, could be. You could say words like that too if you sign up for the £10 Patreon Genius level. You'll get them instantly crammed into that brain of yours. Anyway, so he was pretending to be a soothsayer, and
You're so happy with yourself. No, just for
I win.
just for knowing a new word.
But you
though.
were sat there like, oh, Red's been an idiot. Oh, and then you look like an idiot. Anyway, let's go back to the gold rush, okay?
Okay.
So he would go, I know where gold is. And he'd take parties of people who would pay him loads of money. And he'd go, I'm feeling gold in this area. Then they dig. And apparently people got so angry with him. They're like, you have 24 hours to find us some actual gold or we're going to lynch you against a tree. And so he had to flee a camp in the dead of night. Went off and lived in a cabin in the woods because so many people wanted to kill him. And he died penniless in 1885, actually. And him and Seta were actually put on a pension of sorts. Like they get like, look, you did both find it and everyone became really rich because of you, but you're not getting much. I think they got like a job seekers allowance for like 4 years because of it.
In the end, was there lots of gold?
Yeah, loads of gold. So many people became rich off it. People like, there'll be families who are rich off it today, like the Trump family, and that's not from California, that's actually Canada. So Trump's family, the reason Trump is rich is because of the gold rush. His family, his great-great-granddad immigrated from Germany to British Columbia and went gold mining there, started what was a brothel. I've actually got a description of it here. It's so Trump. I'm sorry, I got to read it quickly. This is how Trump's family began. The Trump's family gold rush story began with Fred, as he was known. Well, that's his name, you know. He left Germany at the age of 16 with little more than a suitcase. He headed to New York to work as a barber before venturing west in search of riches. I love the way stuff was back then. Following stints in Seattle and now defunct Monte Cristo, the gold fever carried him to Bennett, where he and his partner Ernest Levin built the Arctic restaurant, which touted itself as the best equipped in town. Sounds a bit, you know, the language is using there. It's the best equipped in town. Sounds very familiar. And so basically, he opened this brothel, booze-filled brothel, where they'd go gold mining, and they made shitloads of money from that, and that's what Trump's empire's built on, from the gold rush. But back to 1848, I heard a funny story about these brothers who were complete losers, and they travelled out there to try and make loads of money, and they had this. They would use their guns and seized a plot of land and were mining it. And there were some Chinese immigrants who were also prospectors in the plot next to theirs who were doing really well. And they were like, our plot's fucked. Let's trick these guys and make them think there's gold here and sell it to them at an extortionate price. So they got some gold flakes and put them in the barrel of a gun because the Chinese guys were like, well, we'll buy your plot, but we want proof there's gold there. Got them to come to their plot and put a dead snake in the ground before they got there. And they're walking around the plot, and then he sees the snake and goes, oh, shit, and shoots it. And the gold particles come out. And the Chinese guys are like, all right, we'll buy this. So their brothers sell it to them, think they're idiots, move on to the plot next door. The Chinese guys mine it properly, and it becomes the most profitable mine because there's actually gold there. So they were just like, oh, we just ripped off these silly immigrants. And then absolutely fucked him. But it's just insane. Like there was literally just people picking up buying them shovels from our man.
Con artists are so fascinating.
Yeah.
I've had a couple bosses in my life who were complete con artists. I had a boss, and I can't actually say the company name because this lady loves to sue people.
Okay.
Like loves it.
Bring it.
But she was we worked at it was a kids catering company.
Okay.
And she had this business where we would deliver food to like nurseries and daycares.
Okay.
And I was a driver. I found it on like Craigslist, and it was really well paid for the time in Canada. And you'd start at 5 a.m. and you'd work until like 8 hours. And it was, you know, a good job in the sense that like you just drove around and they paid well. But it was an insane job in the sense that this lady was pitching to these like private religious schools, like Jewish schools and Muslim schools. And she was saying, yeah, this food is kosher. This food is halal.
Yeah.
You know, and then it would just be like bottom of the barrel food that we're giving these kids that isn't kosher. It's not halal.
Of course.
She's just like lying. And also, like, she never, when we were working for her, she just never had money.
Yeah.
It was like the checks were always late. And eventually, she owed so many people so much money that the business collapsed.
Okay.
3 times when I worked there, people tried to attack her.
Yeah.
Because they were so angry at her for not
just
paying
turned
them.
up at your work and tried to hit her.
Yes, because because what she'd do is she'd, you know, we're making this food for like tons of schools. So she would just go to like the fruit and veg guy and be like, oh no, don't worry. I promise I'll pay you later today. There's been a problem with my bank. And I'm leaving so much out. There's been a problem with my bank, but if you give it to me now, and he'd give her like thousands of worth of vegetables, and then he just wouldn't pay her. And like, she drove people insane. And and then eventually the company collapsed. It all fell apart. And I'm sure I'm missing tons of good details, but we always wondered, like, where did all this money come from? Like, it just, the economics of the business, like, didn't make sense. Like, delivering, like, food to daycares, but there's vans, there's a warehouse. It's like, there's no way she's could ever make enough money to do this. And then it was in the paper. This lady was in the paper, and it turned out, here's how the entire business was funded. She went into a bank to try to get a loan for her company. And she said to the person working at the bank, you know, told her about the business model. I'm sure she charmed her a lot.
Yeah.
And the bank wouldn't give her a loan because she had already went bankrupt before. She went bankrupt again. But she convinced the lady who worked at the bank to invest in this business.
That's a good hustle.
And by the time the business failed a couple years later, the woman who worked in the bank, who was, I think, like an advisor at the bank, had given her over $400,000, like second mortgage, like
God.
Ruined her life. And we didn't know a better world, but all of my paychecks came out of the pocket of this woman.
Oh no.
And, you know, then eventually the business collapsed.
So you always got paid?
I ended up being owed, I think, around $1,000.
Fucking hell.
And I mean, some people got it worse.
So she just liquidate companies, you know.
Yeah, but this one, I mean, she scorched the earth. Like everyone who worked for that company would name her as like the biggest psychopath they've ever met. Like I remember once she didn't pay us for like a week, and we were all like in her office,
ready to attack.
We're all in her office, ready. We're like, she's gonna come in. We're gonna demand to get paid. We're gonna do it. But this lady was so charming. Somehow she walked in and just changed the subject.
That's amazing.
And like complimented us. I don't know what she said, but 5 minutes later, we're like, okay, yeah, see you tomorrow. Hope we get the money. Like, it was like she was a master.
Yeah. Well, they always are.
And this was in Toronto. And then she had another business in Ottawa. And there was always like rumors from the Ottawa branch, and we never met anyone from the Ottawa branch. Eventually it collapsed, but like I heard like, you always hear stories about like the boss pushing someone up against a wall.
Yeah.
And like she was a straight up, we went to her house once, and her house was a mansion.
Like, of course.
And her and her husband both drove Porsches. And you thought, how are they driving
It's a Porsche again.
Porsches when they have this startup business? Where is this money coming from?
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't make sense. But she used to work for some big like conglomerate. So you thought, oh, she made it rich in the private sector. You know, you didn't know that much about her. Turned out, Porsches were rented. The mansion was rented. It was all rented. Her entire lifestyle of like living in this lavish mansion was all funded from this one lady who she was con $400,000 out of, telling her it's all going into the business.
Could she contact the dead?
No, but I wouldn't be
Why
surprised.
didn't she? You know
But
what I mean?
me and the guys I worked, so I got people into working in this place because in the end they were not paid their last check. But at the time it was almost like $20 an hour when that was amazing in your early 20s, and you just drove around. So I got a couple people in working there, and I lived with the guys too. And she invites us over to her house at Christmas, right? And there was this woman who worked for her. And it was like she had got her to come from like, I think Ecuador. And this lady really wanted to go back to Ecuador to see her family. But she couldn't because she hadn't been paid.
That's horrible.
And this lady brought us over to her mansion for a Christmas party.
Oh my God.
While not paying us.
Ugh.
But it was so
Invoiced you for the
bizarre.
sausage rolls,
Yes.
like you were saying.
It was so bizarre. And this sums up who she is really well. She got us some Christmas presents. I don't remember what she got me, but she got the lady from Ecuador a picture book of Ecuador.
Oh my God.
Because she knew she missed home.
Oh my God. Is this woman still thriving?
So we Google her all the time. That's what I was going to say. We Google her all the time. We want to know what she's up to. We want to know where she is. And we found her again. She has a new business.
What is it?
It is a hotel business.
Oh, so she runs a hotel.
She runs a hotel. She doesn't own it. She runs it. A couple years ago, there was an article in her local paper where someone had went to buy, like they were selling. It sounded to me a lot like timeshares.
Yeah.
But they were selling like properties near the hotel, like just selling off the land for like these luxury cabins, which would, I guarantee, be just piles of shit.
Yeah.
But there was this article we found in her local paper that someone had written, and it was about it mentioned allegations where someone had came in to pay like $30,000 down payment on one of the cottages, and they paid it, but then realized that she had brought in her own private debit machines that weren't the business, and she had just taken $30,000 from this person who was paying for the house, and then he was like, "Where's my house?" And they're like, "Oh, I took that money." But somehow she kept her job, skirted those charges, and then I just got an article sent to me from my friend who listens to this podcast, and she's still running this hotel.
She's like, she's the sort of Firefest guy, you know. They cannot stop.
The exact vibe is Fire Festival. I really want to go to her hotel.
Yeah, and just see what it's like.
Say, hey there.
Or is it like an NFT room or something?
Yeah.
It doesn't really exist. It's just there.
The reviews, I read some reviews, and it was like, we showed up. There were no staff. We waited for an hour.
There's no stairs.
Yeah.
You can't get, there isn't a place.
On the website, it advertises all these great events and great activities to do outdoors, and there's no activities. It's all a lie.
My bed was a dead dog.
I'm trying to describe this lady, but it's impossible to sum up like a super charismatic psychopath.
Of course, yeah. And they're the sort of on the con side, whereas like Gold Rush is like brutal violence. But there's obviously the guy tried to con and was fucked out of it. I think me and you would have been prospectors in the day.
Yes.
We'd have no stand up to do because we didn't care about that back then. No one liked jokes, so we'd be broke, toothless, and someone would go, "There's gold that way," and we'd pick up our shovels, and I think we'd travel. Probably wouldn't be able to afford a horse, so we'd have 2 donkeys. It would take us 6 months. Apparently, I can't remember the percentage. Loads of people died because you'd either get attacked by Native American Indians. Loads of guns went off because they were like riding with guns and stuff, and they'd accidentally shoot themselves. And the thing is, if you're out in the middle of nowhere, even a leg wound is fatal. There's no doctors. So if somehow me and you made it, which I reckon we would.
Here's the thing. We don't like physical work.
No.
Like, you have to dig a hole.
Yeah, I think we'd try and manipulate people to do it for us.
Yeah, like, it's like whenever we do your show in Camden, you don't want to host
No.
because you hate hosting. So you try, the last time I was there, you were like, "Oh, Bobby, you're actually booked to host tonight," and tried to trick me into hosting because you hate hosting. That's exactly what happened. You'd say to someone, "Oh, did you know you're actually supposed to dig the hole, and I'm going to just sit here and watch you?"
Yeah. What we do is we get there, I pretend to be in a wheelchair, and you turn up and go, "Are you in a wheelchair?" And I go, "Yeah." And you go, "Do you want to walk?" And I go, "Yeah." And you go, "Let me see if I can't just do something about that." And then you go, "Make him rise." And then I'd stand up. Everyone would think you're a genius. And you go, "I can hear gold somewhere." And we get them to dig it for us. And then in the dead of night, we'd hit them with shovels and take our gold back to wherever we lived, somewhere in the Midwest, and build a nice life for ourselves with the gold we earned. More likely, we'd be hung as bandits.
Yeah, I'm sorry. You said genius, and I just started thinking about the genius level of our Patreon.
Yeah.
Which is the £10 tier.
Yeah. The gold tier.
You'll get a signed poster of both of
A
us.
nugget of gold.
Yes.
Which you can legally aren't allowed to have checked. Do not boil it and lie. Just to finish on this, I just want to tell you what happened to our man, the ever enterprising Samuel Brannan, the Mormon. He became a multi-millionaire. He put all his money from shovels into real estate and railroads.
Okay.
Yeah. And then in 1872, his wife left him, took half his money, which I didn't know was a thing back then. I thought you could get your wife sectioned for like coughing.
I don't know how I'll say this. Whoever was her lawyer in 1872, that's a good lawyer.
That's a good lawyer.
If you got half then?
His lawyer should have said, "You know those shovels you have?"
Yeah.
Anyway, he lost half his money, and then some reason...
I just got your joke. It took a second.
He lost all his money.
It would be intimidating to divorce someone who just has a lot of shovels and a lot of land.
Access to 1,000 shovels.
And 1,000 acres.
Yeah. But she took all his money. His railroad started to fail, and then he became bankrupt and died penniless. So he just lost all his money. And the gold rush ended, for 7 years, it was huge. Massive. People made millions out of it. And then by 1855, it became like a minimum wage job because big mining, a big American doesn't let there be vigilante prospectors.
Of course.
So corporations come in and go, "Well, we're owning this now." And they started mining with hydraulic equipment and stuff like that. And basically what happened is, due to all the mining, it flooded all the rivers, so there was no water. All the animals were dying because there's nowhere to... So it fucked agriculture. And then there's loads of people starving, but with bars of gold, "We're rich." And it's yeah, but you can't eat. And so it became less popular and basically stopped because they were "We actually need food," weirdly.
Yeah.
So, and the old saying that I've just coined on this podcast goes, "You can't eat gold." And we'll make a T-shirt of that, which you'll get free with the genius. You won't. You can't eat gold. God, I come out with them, don't I?
We did consider doing a Redophile tier, but you...
Yeah, I don't think people want to pay to be called a Redophile. It's just not right.
If you do want to be paid to be called a Redophile, let us know.
Just come to my Camden gig and I can call you that. Just don't hit me. Yeah. Bobby, what you got else for us?
What you got else for us?
Yeah. What else you got for us? So when you got high IQ, you sometimes mix stuff up. Do you know what I mean? Because your mind's 5 thoughts in front of everyone else's.
On September 13th, 1848, Vermont railroad worker Phineas Gage, cool name.
Phineas Gage.
It's like a name from a novel.
It sounds like a con artist.
He survived a 3-foot-plus iron rod being driven through his head.
Ow. That's in the head and out the other side, unless he's got the biggest head in history.
Yeah, it was.
Fuck that. That would be painful to even look at.
Oh yeah.
Ow. I'm sure it says he survived, but I doubt he was.
He lived for 12 more years.
I wouldn't want to IQ test him after that. You're a 4-year-old boy now.
So Gage was he was directing a work gang that was blasting rock and building a railroad in Vermont.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And he blasted the wrong way, and an iron rod that was about a couple centimeters thick went through the left side of his face in an upward direction, continuing upward through outside the upper jaw, fracturing the cheekbone, passed behind the left eye, through the left side of the brain, and then completely out the top of the skull through the frontal bone. It then shot another 25 meters.
Fucking. So he drilled the wrong way.
Yeah, but
so he wasn't Einstein to begin with.
It shot through his head.
Maybe because he was so stupid he didn't die. He was so dumb there was nothing to kill.
So when I first read about it, I thought he still had the rod in his head for his whole life.
Oh my god!
Like
it went 25 meters into the distance. Imagine working with him, being like, "Ah!" You know, it's bad to even see like someone get a huge. I remember in primary school, this guy playing with his stick and he snapped it, and it went through that soft bit between your thumb and your index finger. And it was just horrible. But this would be like. Him just there, someone just vomiting.
The tamping iron was smeared with blood and brain.
God.
Yeah, he was thrown onto his back and gave some brief convulsions, which makes sense.
Chuck him on his back and stamp on his belly.
But within a few minutes, he spoke, walked with little assistance, and sat upright in an ox cart. And got driven into town, you know?
Yeah.
And about 30 minutes after the accident, a physician found Gage sitting in a chair outside the hotel and was greeted with one of the greatest understatements in medical history. He said, "Doctor, here is business enough for you."
What does that mean?
Well, he had a giant hole in his fucking head. He could speak, and a rod had just went through his jaw and out his brain. He'd lost some of his brain, but could still walk around and talk.
That's very impressive. God.
And then this doctor just treated him for like months and like cleaned the wound. And luckily he actually stumbled upon one of the few doctors in America that knew how to keep him alive, because he got really ill a couple months later and went into a coma. But this doctor just knew how to clean the wound and like.
And what did he
dealt with brain injuries before?
Put in the hole, like just shove stuff in it.
I don't know. I don't know what they did. It'd just be his hole, and he carried the rod around with him for the rest of his life.
Why?
Surely
that's bad luck.
It was his friend. I don't know.
Yeah. Maybe so as a party trick, you go, "Hey, look at this." Wham. But you can make a living actually. Pay £5 as a sort of freak show.
No, he didn't go into the freak shows. It was before the circus, kind of time wise. But he moved back in with his parents.
That makes sense.
But then he got bored and he went to Chile and drove a bus.
Oh, yeah. Would you? Because Chile, the roads don't look that safe.
I just wouldn't let a one-eyed guy drive, really. Like one of his eyes was kind of sealed shut.
And he went to me back with his mum and dad. "Hey, mum. Hey, dad. Yeah, I got a bolt through my head."
Yeah. Well, not a bus, a coach. He drove a coach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Imagine getting on the bus. "Hi." "Oh, hi. You're going to be driving us along this mountain terrain."
He was, his friends said he wasn't the same guy.
No, yeah.
Afterwards.
What, they're like, "He's really changed."
But it was like the first case where they realized.
The bolt's really gotten to his head. Oh, God, sorry. Go on.
It was the first case where they kind of realized that like injuries to the brain affect the personality.
Yeah.
Before that, they didn't necessarily make that connection. Anyone before that who had a brain injury probably wasn't going to be alive anymore.
Yeah.
You know? Whereas this guy, he had a metal rod go in his jaw and out his head.
Yeah.
And he was just a bit different after that.
It goes through his head, goes 25 meters. He's put on the donkey cart, which means one of his colleagues walked over, got the bolt, walked back, and was like, "Just in case you want that." Yeah. Well, that's crazy, because I wouldn't fancy my chances of surviving that now.
No, I think
if it was like a game show and they're like, "For £1 million, we're going to shoot this bolt through your head, but there's going to be a helicopter waiting, taking you straight to the top brain surgeons in the country," I'd still go, "I don't think I'm going to do it." Thank you, Ant and Dec.
Not at all.
But I love in the game show, they're not even going to do it in the hospital. We're going to put you on there.
We've got the chopper. It makes it more exciting. We've got the chopper here.
I'd be wanting to stand next to the brain surgeon whilst they did it.
I'm a celebrity. Shoot me in the face with a bolt gun.
What's your like biggest injury you've had in your life?
Like black eyes, you know what I mean?
You've never broken a bone.
No, not really. I broke my nose. I like jumped to grab a tree off a ledge, and I saw it as I was jumping like Superman. Then I just realized halfway I'm not getting there, and I just went whap. And I was like 6, so you don't put your hands out if you're stupid. So that happened. What about you? You've broken your arm twice.
Yeah, I broke my...
Slipped on ice.
I did. I mean, well, I'll tell you what happened. Yeah, you've heard the story.
I have, yeah.
But I slipped. I was on my way to a gig, and I was running there, and I slipped on the ice, and I broke my elbow. But then I had to still stand up and keep running to the gig because I was late.
And you had to do the gig.
And I did the gig. And then I went to the hospital. And then it healed. And right as it was healed, it was icy again at the end of winter.
Mm.
And I slipped on the ice a second time and re-broke it.
Yeah, that's horrible. That's weak bones. Do you drink milk?
Yes, I drink a lot more milk than you, probably.
Well, you didn't have any milk today in your fridge because Harriet's left, and so there's just nothing here. You need to drink some milk. I'm worried about your bones.
I drink milk.
Okay, well, I've never broken anything in my life. Stop. No hitting on the podcast.
I was just trying to break your bones.
Yeah, that's not
Let's
nice.
see how strong your bones are.
No, that's not nice to do. Jody, stop him.
But you've just never broken a bone.
No, milked up to the fucking eyeballs, mate.
You're
ready. Strong bones like a bull. That's why they call me the young bull.
Who?
Those kids who mug me.
You fat dickhead.
Fat dickhead.
Did you call them anything back?
No, they're children and there's people running. It was a packed place. It's fucking embarrassing. The sun was out for the first time in ages. So it's rammed, you know, and everyone just goes. But everyone who saw it happen knew it was happening apart from me, you know. Thing is, I grew up around there and we used to get robbed like 8 times a year. And I don't know why my football, I remember these kids used to come on and go, give us a kick. And I'd be like, no. And I don't know why I thought everything had changed. I think I was having a good day and I just thought, you know what? It's a young couple. I'll give them a spin on my my Lime scooter. And it backfired. Anyway, what else is there, Bobby? Oh, I actually have one thing.
Okay.
I want to tell you about a guy who interested in me. He is a French painter called Gustave Caillebout, which is exactly how you say it. Exactly how it's pronounced.
Wait.
Yeah?
That's how you say it?
Yeah, you say Gustave Caillebout. French.
Why do you move your head like that when you say
that's how you say a French fucking name.
Do French people move their head?
Timothy Chalamet.
Okay.
Yeah. Timothy Chalamet. The French-American actor.
Wait, so what was his name again?
Gustave Caillebout.
And what did he do?
He was a painter.
Okay.
Okay. Best friends with Monet. You know Monet?
You didn't move your head for that one.
Monet.
Okay.
Yeah, you know him? You've heard of him? You probably call him Monet.
Yeah, Monet.
No.
The painter Monet.
No, it's Monet.
Okay.
If you're cultured. So he was best friends with him. So Caillebout had a very rich dad who was a judge, inherited loads of money because they were involved in ceramics, which isn't probably that good, you know what I mean, if you look into it. So this guy was a super talented painter, but didn't need to work because he was a multi-millionaire. So he'd paint loads of like incredible things, but refused to sell them. And he was as good as Monet.
Okay.
But he was the reason Monet survived because he would buy his paintings and he would put on exhibitions. So just this rich guy who was super talented and just put on all these people. He just funded and bankrolled these painters who were the Impressionists. They were known as the Impressionists.
But he was a good painter, actually.
He was a good painter himself.
Because usually...
Yeah.
the rich guy who's
It's
involved, everyone's like, oh yeah, you're great.
Yeah.
It's like, it's just garbage.
Yeah, but because he was rich, he refused to be like center stage, which is incredible. You know what I mean? Like that's really good. And so he funded the whole Impressionist era. You know, that's not. That's artists. That's not people going, I'm from Scotland. You know what I mean?
he funded.
he funded it. Yeah.
I'm Dolly Parton.
Yeah. This guy does the best Al Pacino.
Yeah.
I pay him to do it every day. But so he funded that whole era of painting. But so at the age of 34, he refused to let anyone even see his paintings anymore because he wanted to build his yachts and he didn't want people to see his work.
Okay.
So he just lived in France, probably in Monaco or something, just cruising around on his yachts. And they've discovered all his artwork like 80 years after he died, and it was like incredible. And one of his paintings went for, it's like 11.5 million in 2000. Like, it was incredible. And I've looked at his stuff and it's really, really good. You know, some art that you're just like, that doesn't look like what it is. He mixed the good, like, oh, it's a tree. I can tell it's a tree.
Wait, Red.
Yeah.
Just you describing an artist is great.
Okay. What I'm saying is, you know, when you like go to an art gallery, which I would never do because it's the most boring thing in the world. I've seen pictures of them, yeah?
You've seen pictures of
Well, you
art.
see pictures of art and it's like, this just went for 65 million at Christie's or wherever. And it's like a zebra on rollerblades with a human head and there's like, it doesn't even look like anything. And it's like 65 million and you're like, what is this?
Yeah.
It's like, it's not about the art. It's about how it makes you feel. It's like, it just makes me angry. So is that art?
But not this guy.
Not this guy. It's like, it's actual stuff that makes you happy. Like angry art doesn't, like if it makes you annoyed because you're annoyed at the, it's like shooting a lion. Watching that would make me angry. Is that art? No, it's just killing a lion. Anyway, Gustave Caillebout, he did these amazing things that looked how they were meant to look. You go, oh, that's definitely a bunch of flowers, that is. But it was a bit of a slightly hippie, like, woo, on it, you know?
Okay.
So it's proper stuff. So he mixed the, oh, I'm being a bit, you know, so it's not just a postcard, boring picture of flowers. It's got a bit of a twist on it, but not too much the other side, like Picasso, who just fell off completely. You get what I'm saying, though? Like Jackson Pollock, you know what I mean? Just like throw paint against the wall.
I get, like, when I think of someone like Jackson Pollock, I love the hustle.
Yeah.
I don't know enough about art to know if Jackson Pollock is a great artist.
Yeah.
But I know enough to know that a guy throwing some paint and then selling it for like millions of dollars is amazing.
Yes, it's
I'm
insane.
like, yeah, that's what I want to get into.
It was that or
throwing.
Speaking to Dead People were his two options, and they're both the same thing. Jackson Pollock is basically a psychic. But yeah, so this guy did all these amazing things, refused to be centre stage, paid for all his rich friends, and was paid for all his poor friends and made them rich, Monet and stuff like that, and just back. What I'm saying is there a talented billionaire comedian who by chance listens to this and will just give us money and store all your jokes in a thing and me and Bobby will find them and sell them in 40 years for loads of money? Yeah? Is that too much to ask? Can we get a fucking break, please? For once? Anyway, that's me on that. Sorry. Gustave Caillebout. Need more of you and less of Kylie Jenner's.
I had a year when I was a kid where I thought I was a really good artist.
Yeah.
I'd like sketch people and I loved to like draw people.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying I was like 8 years old, but I loved it. I was obsessed with drawing people.
Yeah.
And I've never gotten better at drawing. Like at 8, it was okay.
Oh, yeah.
And then my skill just flatlined.
Yeah.
There's so many things in my life like that. Like I was a really fast reader as a kid.
Yeah.
But then eventually everyone just catches up with you.
Yeah.
It's not impressive anymore.
No. It's weird what anything you do as a kid, everyone goes, that's amazing. If you manage to like poo in a potty, you get a round of applause. Now I could do 20 minutes of stand-up, stood on the stage making jokes I've thought up and people will watch in stony fucking silence. So how about I just shit in this bowl then? Maybe you'll like that.
I miss potential.
I can drive a car.
I think that's the best part about being like 18 is you're full of potential, you know?
Yeah.
Like
Some kids aren't.
No.
Some kids are like they're going down the fucking pan. I remember being in physics and I'd see this kid called Jason who'd just be playing with a Bunsen burner. I'm like, when is he going to use this? You know what I mean? Like, let the kid go out and spend the last 4 years of his fucking, before it's just bang, social services, 4 kids, fucking drug addiction. Let him play with a tractor or something, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Wait, are you telling me you're saying when you had those thoughts at that age?
Yes.
I feel like you're in hindsight.
No.
I don't think 16-year-old
Are you suggesting
Reg,
I'm psychic, Bobby?
I don't think 16-year-old Red looked at a kid and thought, let him go play with a tractor.
No, I would, because we'd be in maths and they'd be talking about algebra and stuff like that, and you'd be like, look at him. He's got 6 kids already and he's got 2 pencils up his nose and he's smoking a fag while you're talking. He does not need to know about algebra. I don't need to know about algebra. I'm not going to use it. When have you used maths ever in your life? Apart from like, oh, what's 6 plus 4? You know, anything above that, you just whack out your calculator. You know, it's just like pie charts. You're like, oh, fuck off. It's a waste of time. Absolute waste of time.
Red, do you know how me and you like privately sometimes talk about how like not everyone needs to express their opinions?
Yeah.
I think that might be true of you because you have opinions on things that no one else does.
Well, they're here for the pod.
Like your entire range of opinions is like that of a 78-year-old man. Like you just focus in on the tiniest details.
Well, if you'd have been robbed by a bunch of children this week, I think you'd be speaking the same way.
It's just so, yeah, you've in a week you've morphed to an old man because it's like we are in a world where like your currency is like having an opinion on the most like popular event right now or the whatever people are fighting about online, and then our jobs is to be like, well, I agree with this side, I think the left is right, well, I'm a right-wing person, I think that is correct. But like what you've done is you have passionate opinions about why math isn't important. But you're as passionate about that as J.K. Rowling is about trans people.
As Putin is about Ukraine.
Yeah.
Yes. No,
in your future, I see a lot of... This is me being a psychic.
Yeah, okay.
In your future, I see a lot of people being talked to on buses by you.
Yeah.
And then getting off early and pretending it's their stop when it's not, because you're like, why did we even need to learn math? And they're like, oh, this is me, sir, nice to meet you, I hope you find your family. Or me too, I don't know when I can't find her.
That could happen, but it's good to have a cause, Bobby.
It is.
It's very good to have a cause.
Okay.
Yep.
So it's come to that time of the show. Dick of the Year.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure the Dick of 1848 was Karl Marx for publishing the Communist Manifesto.
Okay.
That's what happened.
Yeah.
Now, are there some good ideas in it?
Of course.
Sure.
Have hundreds of millions of people died because of it? Yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Dick of the Year.
Is that quick?
Well, look, what am I going to say?
What can we say about Karl Marx that hasn't already been said? Do you know what I mean?
He's weird looking.
He looked weird. He didn't want us to build a multi-million-pound podcast, which is against... I want to make enough money to ride a jet ski. You know, I've never been on a jet ski in my life. You know how bad that is? Have you been on a jet ski?
No. But
exactly.
I always find it funny when comedians are like, I'm a communist. It's like comedy is the most capitalist thing you can do.
Of course.
You are literally just being like, all of you should pay me
to make you happy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like there's never been a more capitalist exchange.
Yeah.
If we were communists, we would be like, of course I'll do comedy for free because happiness is for the greater good or something.
Yeah.
No.
I'll just volunteer. McIntyre volunteer or working in Oxfam in the day and then doing Wembley at night.
Yeah. And you still could. That's the thing. You don't need. It wouldn't change anything.
We all want the jet skis.
Yes.
And there's nothing wrong with that. Karl Marx made people think there was something wrong with that. I do agree. Let's tax the rich more and stuff. But Jesus Christ, get away from my jet ski. You know. It's funny as well with communists when you meet them. Usually young kids or students. I hate to say it. Everyone when they leaves university gets robbed or starts paying bills. You know, something happens in their life. They become, It's because my parents' era were all in the 80s, and they're like, fuck Thatcher. And it's like, yeah, now, everyone who votes Tory is suspiciously that age bracket. Everyone who was in Woodstock would have voted Thatcher in when she got in. And so it's always younger people, and they're always like the stingiest fuckers you've ever met. You'd be like, can I have a filter? It's like, why don't you buy your own? And you're like, but what? I thought I've got the Rizzers, you got the tobacco and filters. Let's share it around. But no, it's never like that. Usually rich kids from North London as well. I hate to say it. What do they say? Capitalism's for the poor, communism for the rich. It doesn't quite work like that because capitalism isn't for the poor. But communism does seem to be quite a sort of comfortable ideology. And I think a lot of people who believe in it never think it's actually going to come true. So it's a nice thing to espouse at dinner parties. I'm a communist. I'm going to share my cocaine tonight. It's usually that.
It's always funny because people are like, I wish this country, it's like there are communist countries. Go live your dream.
Yeah. Venezuela. Bye-bye. What about North Korea? I heard it's very good over there. You not see Kim in his leather jacket the other day? Looks like everyone's having a great time. So there we go. Karl Marx, Dick of the Year. Don't at us in the comments. If you're a student, you will grow up, you will get robbed of your e-scooter, and you will vote Tory. Not yet. Not for me, anyway.
I'm not going to vote Tory ever. Red is also not going to vote Tory.
No, we're just playing around on the pod. Anyway, see you next week. It's been another great episode, hasn't it, Bobby?
I think so. Hey, if you don't follow us on social media, do that.
Yes.
We have an Instagram, a Twitter, a TikTok, a Facebook page. Just follow us, and then you can,
stay up to date with what we're doing.
Yeah, there's going to be lots happening.
At the Year Is Pod.
On every platform.
That's our handle. At the Year Is Pod. Thank you very much for listening. We will hope to, we will not hope to, we will see you next week. Thank you. You going to say thanks to them, Bobby?
Thank you.
That was another episode of The Year Is. Thank you very much for listening. Please like and subscribe. Leave us a review. It all helps. I'd like to thank our producer, Jody. And also I'd like to thank Josh Weller for our intro music and song. It's very catchy. It's very nice. I'm sure you'll enjoy it at the beginning. So big thanks for Josh Weller. He's on Instagram at Josh Weller. Josh Weller. Follow him and keep spreading the word of The Year Is. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.